spite of conflict or hardship that might discourage a less determined person, that really comes under the heading of a fantasy come true. Tim Baley is a concert pianist who travels extensively throughout the country with his family in their motorhome. We caught up with the Baleys in Eugene, Oregon. Let's watch.
We began to go full-time on the road a year ago in May. Tim's making a name for himself because we know that we've had many people who have driven over 100 miles to his concerts. What we'd like to see come out of this is not Tim the star, but that there is a mental handicapped person that can be a star. Tim was born June 23rd, 1952. I had had a very laborious labor. It was necessary to use high forceps, and this resulted in brain damage at birth. Because Tim was such a beautiful baby, it was just really hard to accept it and realize that there could be anything wrong. The first indications were very serious coordination problems in getting both of the hands to come together. They would just go in a couple of directions. Tim's future to us looked really hopeless.
We're glad that you're here. Tim Baley is a young man whose life can best be described as a miracle. He has turned what many would describe as tragedy into triumph. Please welcome now Mr. Tim Baley.
Successful finding a marvelous institution.
What they did was let him, anyway, just kind of go his way. And from this, they began to see that this was actually therapy for him, that he didn't need all of the tranquilizers that they were giving him.
When Tim got home from the Institute, he was improved 100%, not only with his hands, but with his whole being. He was able to become a human being.
If I had one wish, I'd like to see Liberace in person.
So we flew Tim and his family to Las Vegas, and here's what happened.
Isn't that beautiful? This is the Liberace piano, Tim. And you know, I'd like to tell you something about it. It's made out of glass, and it's all yours, and it's all tuned up for you. And would you oblige us with a little number?
Sure, I'd love to.
Listening over here at your folks. Thank you. Wonderful. Well, I'm so glad. Isn't that good? Are you surprised?
I sure am.
Hi, how are you? Thank you. That was very good.
Thank you, thank you.
Oh, that's a beautiful rendition of that number. And I heard all about your fantasy, and I think it's just marvelous. And I'm thrilled to meet you, Tim.
Oh,
and listen,
thank you.
I've got a little something for you. That
right.
I autographed a picture for you, and I put to Tim, my friend and fellow pianist. How's that? And I drew the piano and the candelabra, and this is one of my albums that has a picture of me on it, just in case, you know, you need to be reminded of it. Okay? Well, it's just great to see you. What's this about a duet or something? I think I know that number you just played. Shall we do it together?
Sure.
Let's do a little bit of it together. Okay. You go ahead and start, and I'll just chime in.
Asked my mom, when can I see Liberace in person? And today was the day that I got to see you.
Lee, thank you so much for helping bring that fantasy to life. And Tim Baley, keep working with your music. Who knows? Someday it may be someone else's fantasy to meet and play a duet with you.
His name is Tim Baley. He's from El Paso, Texas, and he's an accomplished concert pianist. But he had to overcome severe handicaps to reach this plateau.
That's right, Dennis. Doctors gave up on him early in life, claiming that he would never amount to anything if they could only see him today. Let's take a look at this inspirational story.
For 34-year-old Tim Baley, it was indeed an impossible dream come true. He was born with severe brain damage, cerebral palsy, and mental retardation. Today, he is an accomplished concert pianist. Here's how he looked and sounded recently at a benefit concert held at Del Mar College Auditorium. Life hasn't always flowed so sweetly for Tim Baley. Much of the early part of his life was spent in rehabilitation centers and institutions. Frankly, most doctors gave up on him, claiming he would never be able to outgrow his handicaps and function in society. But Tim Baley never listened.
I moved to Denver, Colorado for some special schooling. Then they said, hey, he doesn't need any tranquilizers. And the doctor said that I would never be able to learn to read and write. Well, they're wrong, because I can write and I can read.
Tim Baley was 13 years old when this medical opinion was rendered. While in Denver for testing, he was attracted to a piano located in the institution. Although he developed an affinity for playing the keys with one finger, several music teachers who worked with him could not get anywhere. They simply did not know how to bring out his talents. The turning point for the young Tim Baley came when he agreed to come down to Corpus Christi from his home in El Paso and study with one of the greats in the world of jazz music, our own Red Camp. Red voluntarily took him into the studio and worked. In between lessons, Tim practiced with instructions at home and listened to tapes. His hopes and dreams then started to take form. He became a pianist. Although he still hasn't mastered reading music, Tim plays very effectively by ear.
Well, I can read some music, but it's hard, to read by music. But what the heck, Liberace plays without reading music. Frandy and Teicher do the same. Well, they can read music too, but a lot of the famous piano players, they read just by touch and feel.
Tim's proud dad, seen here watching him, has a doctor's degree in music, so it runs in the family, sort of. But even Tim's dad hasn't accomplished what Tim has. Tim has toured the U.S., played abroad, and even performed twice at the White House. But his greatest thrill was playing with his hero, Liberace.
I had a concert in Eugene, Oregon, and NBC wanted to do a filming on me about a history about. So they followed us clear down to Las Vegas. Well, they flew us down there, and then they flew down themselves ahead of time so that they'd be there before we get there. But what I didn't know that my mom and dad knew about, that Liberace was going to be in town, because the NBC director, the TV director, told him that Liberace was in town and that this was going to be a fantasy for me to meet him and play a duet with him.
You actually did play with him?
Yes, on his piano in his museum.
Ah. What was that like?
Marvelous.
Did you give him a few lessons while you were at it? He's a master, huh? Wonderful musician.
Excellente.
And his piano. Tim is still somewhat retarded and unable to live by himself. He lives with his parents in El Paso. Concerned citizens in that city raised enough money to buy Tim a baby grand piano. Tim has also expanded into artwork, and he makes silver and turquoise jewelry. Considering what he has overcome, I asked him if he had any advice for other handicapped people.
That if you put your mind to it, you can really do what you're doing. Just like for me, example, I'm playing the piano, and I have a light cerebral palsy. So what? You know, we're not all perfect. We're here for an example to show people what we can do, what the Lord had
in store for us.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Tim Baley has certainly done it. In fact, he's done more than anyone ever expected. His sweet sound serves as an inspiration for all. I'm Dennis Quinn reporting. What a beautiful person. Now, his local performance was sponsored by Corpus Christi Citizens for the Retarded. They wanted to showcase the contributions of the mentally retarded. There are more than 10,000 mentally retarded citizens in Nueces County alone.
The proceeds of the Tim Baley concert went directly to the VIP Center of Corpus Christi Building Fund. It is a planned center for the retarded.
Interesting phenomenon in which people who are born lacking skills in one area can be blessed with extraordinary gifts in another area. There's such a case in Anaheim. In an Anaheim apartment, music from an unlikely source. Tim Baley is a savant, a 43-year-old with a mental age of 10. But what he lacks in mental capacity, he more than makes up for in amazing musical ability. It just started to happen at age 13.
He was always disruptive, so I would be at the back of the church or wherever we were doing much of the time, but then he'd start going like this, you know, leading the music. And as soon as the music started, why, he'd calm down. But that was, we realized he really liked it.
Or to say White Christmas.
Sure.
If he hears something, Tim can sit down and play it. Tim has toured the nation with his talent. He's just back from being honored by Senator Edward Kennedy, Maria Shriver, and other members of the Kennedy family at a UN symposium on mental retardation. There's a candelabra there because of one of Tim's heroes. Tim not only got to meet Liberace, he once played a duet with him. As the family sits watching an old tape of that duet, there's just one somber note in Tim's world. His parents are up in age and now worry a lot about what will happen to Tim when they're gone. The Baileys spent all their resources over the years giving Tim a life in music.
It was the only thing that he grew in. It was his only means of education.
Now the money isn't there for any kind of future care that would still allow Tim to perform.
His dream is to have his own art gallery, music studio, and we have not only all of his art, but lots of memoirs from travel and things like this that people who've collected. That would be a substantial future for him.
How to keep the music going in this last part of Tim's amazing story is a problem the Baileys are still trying to solve. In Anaheim, Roger Cooper, OCN. Long-term care for Tim must be found. He has no other close relatives and just $5,000 in a trust fund. The Baileys have tried to find some place that could be rented for Tim's future, but so far everything is too expensive.
Tim Baley is an accomplished Carson City musician and artist. When he was born 48 years ago, his parents were told there was no hope for their severely brain-damaged son. No one, however, took into account the love and dedication of Tim's parents. More in this new chapter from John Tyson's journal.
All right. When Tim Baley sits down at the piano and plays, it's music to the ears of his parents, Rosemary and Jerry Baley. It's as if they are listening to him for the first time all over again. It's been a long road to Carson City for this family, a road that began the day their brain-damaged son was born. He was diagnosed with brain damage with mild cerebral palsy and all the symptoms of Williams syndrome. But now, as you listen to this man play, you should know that when Tim was born, his parents were told that this child would have no hope for a meaningful life and that he should be institutionalized.
All the doctors said he would never, ever do a thing. That he should be institutionalized, forget him, he'd never read or write. But there was no dexterity between the hands.
But no one could know the power of love and devotion from these two parents who looked at Tim as a blessing instead of a handicap. They have moved all over the country to ensure that Tim got nothing but the absolute best of care.
He still has some variations in his mental capacity, but you hardly ever know it. It's hard to make change, but that doesn't matter because we do it for him.
But it is music that created the catalyst that would change this family's life forever. Nurtured by his father, a professional musician and Christian minister, Tim took to the piano like a duck takes to water. And now, as he plays with the skill of a concert musician, the depth of which has to be heard to be believed, Rosemary and Jerry drink in every note, for they see this miracle child as a gift from heaven that came in on the wings of disparity and hardship to change their lives and to enrich them forever.
My dream actually came true, that the Lord had something to do with it all along. I just had to have faith, and I just had to wait a while.
And so it should not come as a surprise that there is one song that Tim does for his mom and dad that has special meaning indeed. The Impossible Dream. John Tyson, News Channel 8.
Tim is also an accomplished artist. His paintings are on display and are for sale at the Sizzler restaurant in Carson City. As a side note, Tim and his parents moved to Carson City to make sure their son will never have to be institutionalized when they die. He will stay with friends who live close to them now.
Quite famous. He's appeared on more nationally recognized shows than Senator Raggio, so that puts quite a group. He's appeared on Sally Jesse Raphael, Good Morning America, Geraldo, Inside Edition, Sonia Live, LA Magazine, the 700 Club. He's appeared in front of presidents. He's appeared, it seems like almost as a celebrity. Nationally televised performance. He did a duet with Liberace. And in one of the brochures that I was lucky enough to receive, and we have a number of them here, they make reference to the fact that in the movie Rain Man, the world became knowledgeable with the term savant. And I think that what you're about to experience here is something you're not likely to see just anywhere. I don't know if any of the family and friends who are here want to have an additional introduction, but you're welcome to just come up. These microphones all work. We're kind of informal around here. So if there's anyone that wants to add anything to Tim's resume, please just stand up and tell us all about it.
All I want to say is he's able to play around Carson City and all over the state and into California, wherever we go, because Nevada has had confidence through vocational rehabilitation and purchased this keyboard. And we've lived in any number of states because of Tim's physical problems, and no one had an idea that this would be a means of any kind of income for him. And so we just want you to enjoy what he does today and acknowledge to you what a wonderful benefit this has been, because Tim's only, I guess you would say, gifts, great gifts, lie in the area of the arts and music. And if you don't know, he has a large display of art at the Sizzler. There are 80-some pieces there. And he used to play at the Ormsby House and was in there until they closed. Now he plays at Smitty J's. So you can visit there if you want more music. Thank you. We do appreciate it so much.
Not at all. Yes, sir. Why don't you sit right up there?
Okay, sir. I'll be real quick. My name is Jack Fleming. I'm a builder, developer, and roughly 6 years ago I came up to help a person, and probably a lot of you know, Sierra Assisted Living Elio School that passed away February. I had no intention of speaking this morning, but after my daughter's first visit up here and she'd seen what we were doing, she went home that night and on Orange County television, public television, she'd seen a young man playing Tim Baley. And she said, Dad, what you're trying to do up there in Nevada, this guy is a candidate. He could not only be part of a cooperative self-assisted living facility for active seniors and high-functioning mentally and physically challenged, but when do you see this guy? And so I said, well, what channel was he on? And she said, there was also a big article in the Orange County Register. So I called the newspaper immediately. I got Rosemary's number. And I contacted the Orange County Public television, and they sent me up a video and blew me away. When I called Rosemary, she said, well, we're going to be making a trip to Las Vegas, and I'd like to come by and meet you. Well, they came by and ended up moving up here just because of the posture and the attitude in Nevada, where you can actually do things to help people, which is a little bit different than some of the things you run into in Southern California. So I've been privileged to know the family since that first trip up here, and they became very dear friends to the whole Elliot Toole family. And anyway, that's it. But it's been a real pleasure, and we've become very good friends. And his talent, to me, is just unbelievable.
All right, please, however you want to proceed is fine by us.
Can you play now? Mm-hmm.
And I'm appreciative of it because my mother was a concert pianist, and I can't carry a tune in a basket or work a radio. But I have a deep appreciation for the talent you've honed. And I believe what you have in front of you are cue cards that simply have the name of the tune and the key in which they are played. It's all of this becomes more remarkable, I think, the more we see. So I don't know. Does the committee have some special tune? As long as it's not the home means Nevada, none of us know the words. But,
if he doesn't know it, you sing it.
That's territory I'm not sure we want to enter. But Mr. Baley, go ahead. If you have some of your favorites, whatever you have there is just fine.
one of the things that you might appreciate about that song was that you heard it in Kentucky, and if you read his brochure, you know that he has cerebral palsy, and this arm used to be like this, and this one was down like this. But when he found the piano at an institution, he was determined to play it, and he became very determined to play this song. It took him over 2 years to perfect that technique.
Why don't you pick whatever your favorite tune is, or your last tune, and then we might ask you a couple of questions if that's right.
All right. Is it about military base song?
Yeah, you touched a few chords with a couple of military folks. With Memorial Day less than 2 weeks away, it was a nice tribute. Appreciate it very much. You're a remarkable asset to this state, and if there are things, obviously, we can help you with, I'm sure you've got a lot of fans now that will participate in any way they can to see that you got a chance of doing that. So.
I can feel a lot of cool air in here, so I know that there's a lot of fans.
I hope you don't come down to the floor, you'll hear all the hot air. Well, we appreciate you being here, and maybe when we start the session in another 20 months, we can have you kick it off in an appropriate fashion. It'd be nice to have you back.
Oh, yeah.
Great. Well, please, and feel free to stay for a minute. We're going to have Mr. Taylor come up now. Ladies and gentlemen, this...